Hello and welcome to Reality Check. Since the Balakot airstrikes, Pakistan's response to charges that it provides safe haven to terror groups has taken a familiar route: denial, bluster, and unverified promises of action. A day after the attack, Imran Khan asked India for proof.
अगर आपके पास कोई एक्शनेबल इंटेलिजेंस है कि पाकिस्तान इन्वॉल्व है, वो हमें दें। मैं आपको गारंटी करता हूं कि हम एक्शन लेंगे। अगर कोई पाकिस्तान की जमीन इस्तेमाल कर रहा है, हमारे से ये दुश्मनी है, ये हमारे इंटरेस्ट के खिलाफ है।
His foreign minister then goes on to tell the BBC and CNN that Masood Azhar, the chief of Jaish, accused of the Pulwama attack and India's target, was in Pakistan in fact and was unwell, and that the Jaish, when contacted by the Pakistan government, has denied any role in the attack. In the past 48 hours, though, the narrative has shifted once again, now to claims of action. Pakistan's media, the Dawn and the Express Tribune amongst them, have reported on the possibility of a government crackdown on terror groups, especially the Jaish-e-Mohammed. The Tribune quoted a top government source saying that Islamabad might withdraw its opposition to the move to list Masood Azhar as a global terrorist in the UN Security Council. That article, as you can now see on your screen, is incidentally or ironically missing from the Express Tribune homepage. So on the ground, has Pakistan really acted? Remember that Jaish is a banned group, banned since 2002. But as NDTV's Maryam Alawi, who now joins me, has been reporting, she's been spending some time examining the online version of Al-Qalam, the Jaish-e-Mohammed's journal, which remains active after the strike and is in fact active to this day. Masood Azhar continues to contribute to it, as recently as last week. What you're seeing on the side of your screen is a live shot of the Al-Qalam website, of the Jaish-e-Mohammed's journal. We're scrolling through it just to give you a sense of the fact that now we're almost a week out after the big strike in Balakot, and the Jaish propaganda machine, the Jaish hate machine continues to carry on unchecked. Maryam joins me on the show tonight. Now, Maryam, you've been actually going through the Al-Qalam site, and you found, amongst other things, that the latest issue, I believe was as recent as just last week, continues to feature Masood Azhar. So this would be very much after the Balakot strike.
Yes, Vasu. So the Al-Qalam online, which is touted to be the mouthpiece of Jaish-e-Mohammed, in fact came out with their latest issue of the e-paper on February 27th. So now Masood Azhar is said to write for Al-Qalam under the pen name of Saadi. And even the latest issue of this e-paper had an article by Saadi, which is the pen name of Masood Azhar. In that article, he goes on to say that Indians are not using their brains. They are heading towards suicide. They should forget that their noise, their threats are scaring us. Definitely not. With their threats, our blood boils more. In fact, he goes on to say that in India, Muslims were being killed at every turn. They were being oppressed. Kashmir was being tortured. But now that the downtrodden are answering back, they're complaining to the whole world. What honor is this? What bravery? I wish they had some shame. Then they would have drowned themselves. But alas. This was on February 27th. So this would have been a day after the strikes in Balakot region. This is not the only article of Saadi that we found on the website. In fact, if you look for it, the byline he goes with is Saadi ke kalam se. That gives you around over 250 articles on that website, about 254.
You're saying there are 250 articles with the byline of Masood Azhar's pen name in this website.
Yes, so over 250 articles under the pen name of Masood Azhar, which we said was Saadi. And some of the things that he says on 20th of February just this year, he said that Pulwama attack was carried out by Kashmiri Mujahideen on India. On 7th February, he says, I want to tell the world that Kashmir and Pakistan are not separate. What connection does India have with Kashmir? Until a few days ago, Indian soldiers were burying the dead bodies of unarmed Muslims in Kashmir. But since January 2, that's the Pathankot attack, they are dragging the bodies of their own proud warriors. Right. And it's not just Masood Azhar that features on Al-Qalam. In fact, many of the articles quote Abdul Rauf Asghar, who is a commander of Jaish-e-Mohammed and brother of Masood Azhar. On 7th February again, he said that like the Americans had to admit defeat to the Taliban in Afghanistan, India will have to beg the Mujahideen Kashmir for discussions. On 4th April last year, he said the youth who rise from this madrasa, which is the madrasa in Balakot, the Madrasa Ta'lim al-Quran, which was said to be a training camp for Jaish as well. Right. He says the youth who rise from this madrasa have broken the arrogance of the mountains of Kashmir and lit the torch of jihad there, and they will, God willing, continue to keep it alive.
So basically, you're saying that both Masood Azhar under a pen name writes for this, his brother, who's one of the top Jaish commanders, is writing for this. There are articles that have come after the Balakot strike, and you also refer to a piece which refers to Balakot, the madrasa there as a Jaish center. But also, Mariam, I think you were looking into where this site actually operates from.
Yes, Vasu. So the website of Jaish-e-Mohammed, Jaish-e-Mohammed's Al-Qalam says that they operate out of Rawalpindi. As you can see on your screen right now, that's their contact page on the website. It says they operate out of Rawalpindi, Punjab in Pakistan.
Right. So it's as open as that. All right. Thank you very much indeed, Mariam, for joining us. Okay, let's go to our panel. We have with us Raul Laskar, who's foreign editor of the Hindustan Times, Harinder Baweja, who's editor special projects of the Hindustan Times, KC Singh, former diplomat, strategic affairs expert, is with us, Vishnu Prakash, another former diplomat. Great to have you on the show. Also joining us via Skype from Paris is Taha Siddiqui, journalist / founder, safenewsrooms.org, somebody who's also been tracking this story. Raza, if I could just start by asking you that, so if you look, as Mariam was looking at the Al-Qalam site, it seems to be pretty much business as usual for the Jaish-e-Mohammed.
Well, it's been business as usual for all these groups that are, so-called in the banned category. I mean, the Lashkar-e-Toiba, the Jaish-e-Mohammed. These guys, they really don't wind up their activities despite the ban. Pakistan has this very amusing way of referring to them in the media. They call them defunct groups.
Right.
But, while I lived in Islamabad, after the Mumbai attacks, while there was a crackdown on, I had a Falai-e-Insaniyat Foundation guy come to my house to ask me for a donation. Right. That's how open and blasé they are about it.
Sorry to jump in. So just for those who don't know, Falai-e-Insaniyat is the charity wing of the Jamaat-ud-Dawa, which is the parent body of the LET.
Yeah, and every Eid you would have these guys setting up camps at the markets near our homes in Islamabad to collect donations. They were all over the place. The FIF runs an ambulance service in Islamabad. They're very blasé. The Jaish-e-Mohammed, of course, was a little more circumspect about its activities.
Sure.
You didn't hear so much about them till about 2014 when they re-emerged.
Right. Shami Baweja, the fact is, Raza Hassan Laskar is saying that they continue to operate is not surprising. But what did seem surprising was that even after the Balakot strikes, you'd think that for a while there'd be some lying low. But if you see the journal, Masood Azhar is continuing to contribute to it. And he's actually referring to the strikes, saying that this is not going to deter us and so on and so forth.
But I'm not surprised at all, and none of us should be, Vasu, because this is the pattern that Pakistan follows. After 26/11, you had a ban on the Jamaat-ud-Dawa.
Right.
None of their activities stopped. I got an occasion to actually visit the headquarters of the Lashkar-e-Taiba.
That's right.
After the Mumbai attacks.
Yes.
And it was business as usual within the complex.
Right.
All they wanted to talk to me about was jihad in Kashmir and weapons. So there is absolutely no charade. I also had the occasion to meet Masood Azhar when he was picked up in Srinagar. I happened to be there.
Right.
And even though he was in custody, his hands were chained, his feet were in thick chains.
Right.
He was very much the terrorist that he's made out to be. I asked him a question, and his head was down like that, and he said, "I cannot answer your question because you're a woman. we do not make eye contact with women." I am not surprised at all
that this is still carrying on.
The points that Laskar made, they are a banned organization.
Right.
After Parliament, the group that threatens India most is the Jaish-e-Mohammed.
Yes.
So from Pathankot to Pulwama, it has been active all along. Where are the checks and balances? They are the assets of the Pakistani army.
Okay, I'm going to come to the diplomats on that in a second, but if I can just go across to Taha Siddiqui. Now, Taha Siddiqui, you actually, we've been looking at some of the work that you've been doing, particularly on Twitter, and we'll put up some of those images that you actually found an audio clip of a speech which is purportedly being given by the Jaish leadership, and this appeared to be again after the Balakot attack.
Definitely. I mean, this is an audio tape that comes from an event that happened on 28th of February, which was last Thursday evening, and it happened right after Imran Khan had announced the return of the Indian pilot, and the event was happening in Peshawar on GT Road. There's a madrasa called Madrasa Sanan bin Salma, where this event was happening, and it was a tribute to a Sunni extremist leader, Yusuf Ludhianvi from Karachi, who was target killed in 2000. And at this event, Mufti Abdul Rauf, the second in command of Jaish-e-Mohammed, was present, along with a lot of other Jaish-e-Mohammed leaders were present there. And they spoke particularly about the Balakot incident, and referred to it and said that, and used it to further rally for jihad, and said that, earlier on we had seen that there was a criticism about how this was a Kashmir issue, but now the Indians have crossed over at the international border.
Right.
So we, as Pakistanis, should rise up, and so they're actually using, and then within that particular audio clip, he says that none of us were killed, but we would want to embrace martyrdom, and then goes on to say that we should now use this as an incident to rally and gather together and
right.
launch more attacks inside Kashmir. So they're using this as a propaganda tool for their own, purposes.
Right. Casey Singh, what is worrying about all this, quite apart from the fact that Pakistan continues to be recalcitrant, is the question it raises on the efficacy of the strikes, which is something that has been haunting the public conversation over the past several days. That if this is suggesting that the Jaish leadership is out and about holding rallies, doing their propaganda and all of that, what have we achieved? Have you ever taken out some of these guys? What's going on?
No, I think there were multiple reasons. Justification, of course, of the government has shifted after the attack. One was, of course, pure retaliation. That they've killed 40 of brave hearts, and we want to punish them.
Yes.
The punishing part is where I think public opinion would like to know how much the punishment was.
Right.
Have they just been scared? Are they just rattled? Or did we kill? Did we decapitate some of the trainers and some of the recruits?
Right.
That the jury is still out.
Right.
Second thing is...
but even on the deterrence part, sir, I mean, if you just look at, just going by their own propaganda and stuff.
I'll come to that.
Where is that? How is the deterrence?
Second thing is, look, let's be very clear that even if you assume that Pakistan has started picking up the people, like they occupied their headquarters in Bahawalpur.
Of the Jaish headquarters.
On the net, they would, it doesn't mean that Masood Azhar is writing that article. Anybody can write that article and put it on the net. They will be in a big hurry to show that it's business as usual. As you know, even Osama bin Laden, for almost 10 years he was underground. He would every now and then send a tape to show that he was alive and kicking. So they would be at great pains for their cadres who are out in the field, confused,
that everything is
don't know, in Kashmir, to say it's business as usual. Now the question is, are Pakistan chasing them and they are doing it, or they are just kind of making a show of it?
What do you think?
No, that may take a few days. I think Pakistan will have to do something with the Security Council resolution coming up.
Right.
And it'll have to be more than just simply occupying Bahawalpur or saying that one guy is ill and dying and other people are arrested.
Right.
That's not good enough. We've seen that before.
Right.
So it has to be more than that, and certainly sites, even if you stop this site, they'll go and open another
They'll
one.
open
So
another
I don't go by
site.
that.
Okay, so you're saying don't place too much importance on that. Vishnu Prakash, I just want to bring you in to also just point out to you that there's also been some news today, or it appeared to be some news today, that Pakistan has actually banned the Jamaatul Dawa and the FIF, the Falah Insaniyat Foundation, which are both arms of the LET. But that also turned out to be, frankly, fake news, because this is the notification, the updated notification on the government of Pakistan's National Counter-Terrorism Authority, list. and neither of these organizations is on the banned part of the list. They're both on the under watch part of the list. So they have not been banned. They continue to remain under watch. Do you then see Pakistan actually going beyond the usual claims of cracking down and whatnot, as Ambassador Singh was saying, or is this just going to be once again a lot of noise without action?
Well, their first effort will be to engage in window dressing, which they have always done. They remain in denial, while the tentacles of these jihadi organizations keep spreading. You know, just to put a number on Jamaat's activities, I believe they have something like 2,500 offices and 11 seminaries in Pakistan. And so obviously, you know, they are very deeply entrenched. They are there with the encouragement, support of the deep state and the armed forces, and they are not going to go anywhere. And the example of that was the Pakistani parliament, where the railway minister was speaking a few days ago, where he referred to Masood Azhar as Azhar Sahib. So a global terrorist is a Sahib for our Pakistani friends. You know, that is the kind of, let's be upfront about it. Lashkar, Jaish and these organizations are spearhead Pakistan's misadventures, and they are strategic assets. But then, if I were just to add, Vasu, is that...
Can I just jump in though and ask you the same question that I asked Ambassador Singh? Can I just ask you the same question I asked Ambassador Singh? That if that is the case, then what have we gained by this strike?
Fair question. You know, one swallow does not make summer. You know, we know that there are legions of terrorists which are running a parallel administration virtually in Pakistan. What we have done is to signal that it is not business as usual, that our patience is running thin, and we will, if necessary, take the fight right into mainland Pakistan. Now, will we do that every time? Certainly not. But we will use every possible arrow in our quiver, you know, and most important thing, Vasu, is to take the international community along, because this fight on terror against Pakistan cannot happen
multiple stakeholders
by India alone.
Can I just quickly ask you, Taha Siddiqui, that in your own analysis or your own study of activity by these groups, have you picked up any chatter which suggests that they are scared or are on the run, or that there's some kind of action against them by the Pakistan government, or not?
No, I mean, from what I understand, as you also mentioned, the website is running and up and running, businesses as usual. And I like to give you an example of something that I saw when I was in Pakistan, and I used to report from there. This is a few years ago in 2014, when Pakistan Army launched an operation called Zarb-e-Azab on the tribal belt. And I was there to cover the influx of refugees coming out of Waziristan. And at that time there was a Jaish-e-Mohammed camp that I reported about in a story for a local newspaper, an international newspaper, by the name of Al Rahmat Trust. And they were running a medical camp there, and they were receiving these vulnerable population of refugees coming out. Similarly, Falah Insaniyat Foundation, the charity wing, or the so-called welfare wing of Jamaat Dawa, was also operational there. So this was happening in the midst of where the military was running an military operation, while we saw Falah Insaniyat Foundation, Jamaat Dawa, Al Rahmat Trust, Jaish-e-Mohammed, all of them were all around and sharing things with each other. Then I went to South Punjab once to cover a flood over there. Over there, I saw that Jamaat Dawa members were sharing pictures and photos with the military, saying that, oh, yesterday you went for this this refugee sort of this rescue mission. You took some photos. Can you give it to us, because we want to put it on the social media? So that's the kind of collaboration that you see on ground. So definitely, I mean, what you'll see. One thing that you will see is that they will keep changing their names, and they will keep coming up with new names, but they will keep going on, because at the end of the day, these groups serve the war economy that Pakistan military wants to sort of continue having.
So it's a much more fundamental Right. So it's a very deep and a much more fundamental relationship. So as we wind down in time, Shami Baweja, what do you think then is really going to happen? I mean, you know, the sort of general view around this table doesn't seem to be very optimistic.
I don't think it
but
is.
Is there going to be anything that will move the needle after the strikes? I mean,
for the moment, it doesn't appear to be that way. I agree with Taha. They're masters of aliases. You know, you ban an organization.
Sure.
They are reborn as a different identity. Not only that, Vasu, there are enough examples of how they're even tipped off in advance, so all the money goes out of their banks.
Right.
So even when their bank accounts are frozen,
right,
it's mere tokenism. So I don't see any clear intent coming from Pakistan, having heard Shah Mahmood Qureshi talking. I mean, he was almost sympathizing.
Yes, he's very
he's so unwell.
Yes.
I mean, he sounded very, you know, sympathetic of the fact that
he was not well.
Yeah. Now, India must think what it needs to do, because Uri strike, then the second strike, is terrorism going to end? Is it the last time we've seen the Jaish or the Lashkar hit India? The answer clearly, Vasu, is no.
So, Raza ul Lashkar, I mean, then what? Because do you actually see again the possibility that there might be some action that they would actually go in and try to arrest Masood Azhar or pick up the top Jaish operatives, or again just sort of it would just be more symbolic?
They put Hafiz say
well,
that
I mean,
in the past.
Yes.
The kind of stuff that I've been picking up, I mean, I was speaking to some of my sources yesterday, and what I was able to pick up is that, you know, there is some sort of thinking going on in the government to do some sort of an action against some of the banned groups. But obviously, what they're saying is that they would like to prepare the grounds before they do anything, and they don't want to give an impression that it's being done at the behest of India. But it's also interesting that there's been some chatter that I picked up about the Jaish-e-Mohammed. They put out some statements. I think they put out one statement yesterday, which talked about, you know, asking the cadres to get ready for some sort of a showdown, because they might be having, you know, the government may be taking action against them due to pressure from the, you know, the infidels from outside. Right. And there's also one very interesting thing. The tape that Taha was talking about, it refers to, you know, how General Niazi surrendered in 1971. Yes. And another Niazi now has surrendered. You know, I mean, not many people know this, but Imran Khan's title is Imran Khan Niazi. Right, right. Yeah, yes, you're right. There's a kind of admonishing of the Pakistan government as well. Last comments from you, KC Singh. What can India now do? Because, you know, we have now played a very strong hand. We've gone ahead with strikes. If we still don't see action by the Pakistanis, what do we do?
See, one element was, as I said, punishment. Another is deterrence, which means they don't, Pakistani state doesn't help them in any way to launch an attack in India. Thirdly, they will, if they act against them, they are not just going to do it for India. There's a financial action task force, precisely this kind of breaking the nexus of hawala, money collection by these groups.
Which keeps on pushing Pakistan.
Will Pakistan do something? If they don't do it, then we have till October to build up that evidence, really tighten the noose. And the next one is UN Security Council. The listing, how much effect it has directly, probably not much. But again, the financial action task force will take note of it, that these people are there. And I think Pakistan will have to demonstrate that it can't be business as usual, although these people have tremendous electoral benefits, they have huge outreach into society, so they have support group in there. How do you alter the narrative locally is not going to be easy for any Pakistani leader, even if the will is there. But we have yet to see the will.
Vishnu Prakash, in an ideal situation, what should Pakistan do? Give us specifics. Pick up Masood Azhar, pick up the Jaish leadership, you know, cut off the sources of funding, cut off the proxy support. What is the ideal situation?
Well, the ideal situation would be that first they have to acknowledge that they have a problem, and acknowledge that they have, even if they don't acknowledge that they have been supporting and fomenting terror, but at least to accept that there is an issue, there is a challenge, that is one. Then they need to go after the terrorists in a meaningful fashion. They will not hand over these people to anybody, let's be very clear about it, but they can be dealt with. And you know, if they start doing that, then it will be for the world to see. Right. Vasu, there are 2 or 3 very important developments that have happened this time. One is that Pakistan is now is much more isolated, and even their benefactors like China, Saudis and UAE are basically getting a little uncomfortable with them. They are in an economic mess, and I think the noose is tightening.
Okay.
So they will have to look inwards, but will they do that is anybody's guess.
All right, okay. Will they do that? Well, for starters, they can at least try to shut down this website or just look at the details on this website to figure out where they're posting from and try and take at least that action, but we are not sure if that's going to happen as well. But thank you all so much for joining us. It's been fascinating. That's it on Reality Check. Thanks for watching. Good night.